morning, everyone. Happy Pride, y'all. We are here today to talk about being gay and why that is just like super nifty. Real quick, before we get going, I would like to say happy Father's Day to all the fathers out there, especially Dr. Bob Glenn. My dad is kind of like if you mixed your favorite nerdy teacher and Ron Swanson. So he's probably spending today talking about his favorite author, Arthur Conan Doyle, and eating a steak. Very medium rare, probably more on the rare side, probably cool with it mooing, all that. Love you, Bob. All right. Now that we're done with the mushy, I love my dad stuff, let us get on to our topic. Today we are joined by some wonderful folks who want to talk about being gay with us. So let's bring them on. Good morning, guys. How's it going?
Hey, good morning.
Hi.
Okay. Today, we are joined by some wonderful people. First off, you've seen him as Pippin on Broadway. You've seen him as an old-timey porn star on Inside Amy Schumer. But most importantly, now you've seen him as a panelist on The Breakdown. We have Kyle Dean Massey joining us.
Hello, good morning.
I wanted to embarrass you just a little bit about the semi being a porn star with Amy Schumer.
Introduced like that. That's great.
Yeah, I watched the video this morning to get prepped. I was like, do I remember that? Did that actually happen? So
I did that out. Carl. You're
I mean,
actually just projecting it on Kyle.
Maybe a little bit. No judgment here. Next up also is a friend of mine who is the host of a wonderful podcast called The Queer Caucus. You should check it out. They've also done some really fun national commercials, but most importantly, they definitely saw me drunk one too many times in college. I have Jill Kamler. Good morning, Jill.
Hi. Good morning, Carl.
Jill wanted me to make sure that everyone knew that they are not in jail this morning, but they are at a dorm doing summer stock.
Mm-hmm.
which isn't not jail, honestly.
The buildings are quite similar.
Lots of cinder block.
The freedoms are much different.
Fair, very fair.
So guys, probably same.
Yeah. Guys, before we get rolling on this topic today, I thought we would get in starting with something fun. Guys, what is so we're celebrating Pride in this episode. So tell me, what is your favorite queer TV show or movie? I think that for me, I specifically wanted to talk about one episode that I loved, which was the kind of coming out episode of Master of None with Lena Waithe. If you haven't seen it, it's super heartwarming and wonderful. And I feel like they're really good with her character not being like a stereotype, but just being gay, which I love those kinds of characters, obviously. What about you guys?
Jill, you want to start?
Oh gosh, that's such a big question, Carl.
I know you don't have to name them all, but just give me something that you like.
Sure. Well, I am a big fan of the movie Carol, and I'll watch it at any time of the year, but specifically Christmas time.
Yeah.
It's great.
I haven't seen that one.
You haven't?
No.
It's a must.
I've been bad about movies lately. I should find it.
I know. My attention span, I feel like, is shrinking. I can really only handle television.
Yeah. Us millennials, we just, ruin in Applebee's and have no attention span.
I know.
That's us. Kyle, what about you?
Yeah.
Mine's not necessarily a scripted thing. I think for me, at least growing up, it was The Real World on MTV. There was it was really the second season of that Pedro Zamora. He was in San Francisco, and I feel like that was the first time I ever saw a show with a real gay person, not somebody pretending to be a gay person, but a real one. So that was a pretty big. I mean, that was in the early 90s, and that was just really ahead of the curve as far as depicting gay people on TV.
That's a really interesting thought. I hadn't ever really thought of that. Do you remember, because I'm not sure I was old enough to like really grasp it at that point. Do you remember how like people around you reacted to like that character, or sorry, not that character, he's a person, but that person or the show or anything at the time?
I think he was the most liked person on that season of the show. He was really handsome and very likable, and they had a lot of other like really crazy characters on that season. So he came off as being like the most normal, and that was very different. It was very different to see a gay person and be like, oh, he's normal. He's the normal one. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, he had HIV and he died of AIDS not too long after. So that was a whole other thing on top of it, being like, you can be gay, but you're probably going to die of AIDS. I mean, it was still that time. It was still, so it was still frightening, but as far as like just being a real person who was proud to be gay, who was out, who had a boyfriend, who was completely normal in every way, that was him.
That's so interesting, because I wonder from like a producer standpoint how intentional it was because I feel like the easy thing to have done at that point in time would have been to find someone who was very stereotypically gay, who was very flamboyant and over the top and those things. I wonder if there was any conscious thought into who they wanted to bring on for the show at that point in time.
From my understanding, and I ended up reading that like graphic novel about Pedro Zamora. He really campaigned to be on the show himself because he wanted to use the show as a campaign for AIDS awareness. So I think for his part, he wasn't looking for 15 minutes of fame, kind of like other people on the show were at the time. You know, he really wanted to use it as a platform to help spread awareness. And
what a throwback. Remember when The Real World was like a tool for social change?
Oh gosh.
It was real.
Yeah, it was real. 7 strangers in a house.
Yeah.
Jill, you
I was not allowed to watch The Real World.
I feel like I'm not sure if I was allowed to watch The Real World. I feel like I may have snuck that in.
Yeah, well, my mom wouldn't let my sisters watch Roseanne either, but we loved it. We were so into it.
That's so funny. So Jill, you live in more of a gender fluid world. Was there a moment in time when you saw, when you connected to someone on a national stage like that, where you were like, oh, that's someone who like is similar to me?
Yeah. Well, I would say it didn't come until much later in my life. I think gay characters were happening semi-regularly in my 20s on television and film, but characters who were gender queer or non-binary or trans even, that wasn't as common. And so I think the first show that I saw that like zapped me was Transparent on Amazon. Quite in the later seasons, one of the characters starts going through some like gender journey, and it's like really relatable. To me, and it's surprising that even still, like I don't think there's another show out there that has a character like that. I think the only exception was Billions, with the actor actually non-binary, H.K. Dillon. So.
Has that informed you as an artist? Has that made it so that you want to, like be out there to give other people someone to see?
Yeah, for sure. Like, I mean, I don't forget the author's quote, but if you can't see it, you can't be it. Like that whole thing.
Yeah.
Is so relevant in the entertainment industry as well. Like, going in for auditions and being like, well, I've had maybe 1 or 2 in my lifetime that were characters that I felt represented me, queer-wise and gender-wise. So I go in all the time and I'm like, well, am I going to be seen the way I want to be seen? Or if I book this part, is this going to be true to me? Are they going to allow me to be myself, you know?
Totally.
So I think we are in the middle of a very incredible time, and it's about to take off. And I would like to be there for that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Kyle, so how have you seen, talking about this, how have you seen inclusion for gay men change? Because I mean, we just had a Tony season where with Angels in America that like did phenomenally, and the Boys in the Band and things like that. Have things felt to you like they are like, I don't know, moving in a good direction with that kind of stuff? I know that's like a very like broad question.
Yeah. I mean, you know, things are always moving forward. Sometimes they move forward as fast as I want them to. No, not really. Do I think that being an out gay actor helps me sometimes? Yes. Do I think it hurts me sometimes? Yes. I think it can still be very tricky. But yeah, I do think that there is more inclusion as far as gay characters are involved in TV and in stage. I am getting a little tired of like the really like stereotypical kind of big gay dance production numbers. I'm moving away from that, but yeah, I do think that there is more opportunity and more representation for sure.
Totally. Yeah, you know, it's so fascinating because I feel I'm obviously on the outside looking in, and so like but I feel like there has become a more of a celebration of everyone in their different gayness, or queerness or whatever than there used to be. You know, I feel like for a while, from my point of view, that there were very few types of queer people being shown. And I feel like, though, like you said, it's might not move as quick as we would like it, we are starting to see that like gay men can be loud and flamboyant, and that's wonderful. And gay men can be quiet and masculine, and that's wonderful. And queer people can be to a point where you don't know what gender they are, and that's wonderful. Like, you know, it doesn't, there's like so much more of a spectrum, I feel like, that is being celebrated than there used to be.
For sure. I mean, that without a doubt. Absolutely.
Yeah. So on this topic, I'm sure that you both and those of us watching and everyone have seen the It Gets Better videos, which I can sit and just like cry watching. And I kind of wanted to ask a question of if you could tell 15-year-old you one thing, just like a little bit of advice or encouragement or whatnot, like what would that bit be? Jill, do you want to start off?
Sure. I would say take your time figuring it out. You don't have to decide today, and it's not in your head. And that someday you'll move out of the small town that you grew up in, and that will feel very liberating. And then you'll get to a place in your life where returning doesn't feel like going back into something that's limited. Like going back home now for me is like going home. I don't feel necessarily like I'm putting myself back in a box of secrecy and privacy. I am myself now, and I'll tell my 15-year-old self, you'll get there.
Yeah. Kyle, what about you?
I think I would probably just echo things that other people have said before. Kind of like, I just remember being that age and feeling like I was suppressing so much, trying to cover up so much, and not really like celebrating what made me different. Because in fact, as we all know, it's always the things that really make you different are the things that you end up being celebrated for if you allow them to be seen. So I think it's just that fear of really being seen. But really living your true self, there's nothing better than that. And you will end up being celebrated for that if you just allow yourself to show it.
Totally. So
Yeah.
we are in Pride Month, and here in New York, today is the Pride Parade, which is very exciting. What is each of your favorite thing about Pride, about the month, or about the march, or about the history? Like, what is your favorite part of that?
I always like to remind people that the first gay pride parade was a riot. So
yes, I wanted to get into that. I wanted to touch on that a bit. Yeah, if you don't know, Jill, do you want to give us like a little history on the Stonewall riot?
Sure. So Cassidy and I have an episode on the Queer Caucus. There's two that I think are relevant. Last year we covered Pride problems in St. Louis, so I would recommend that episode to people. And then we also did one where we just went through like a lot of other riots that were like prior to Stonewall that are also very important, most of which took place in like Los Angeles and San Francisco. So I would say Stonewall in a nutshell was a riot which ensued from the mistreatment of transgender people by police officers and the government and like, society as a whole. Transgender women of color, or queens as they were calling themselves at the time, were at the forefront of that riot. The Stonewall Inn is a place that you can still go to in New York. I've not been because that's still on the travel list, but essentially it was a big old riot, and it was considered our first Pride parade.
Sometimes you gotta make a little noise, So knowing that, what is y'all's favorite thing about Pride for you? Kyle, did you have something?
I think for me, at least in my own lifetime, has been the fact that when I first moved to New York, the Gay Pride Parade was still a thing that the gays did on the third Sunday of June. But now it's like a citywide month-long celebration. And I do feel like it's embraced by everyone. It's not like just for gay people. I feel like all people celebrate Pride now because I think it's an important, kind of like all people celebrate Black History Month. You don't have to be Black to celebrate Black History Month,
Yeah.
It's becoming a celebration like that. I think people are celebrating the fact that people stood up for their rights. And regardless of what those rights were, I think people can celebrate that and understand the struggle that people went through to get there.
Totally.
I think that's the most exciting thing. I mean, our playbills right now are rainbow.
Yeah.
I mean, how cool is that?
Yeah, and I believe that I heard somewhere that next year New York is hosting like World Pride. It's like the World Pride Festival or what here.
Next year is a big anniversary. Next year 50 years, right?
So so that would make sense.
60 years.
Yeah.
70.
Well, I'm gonna have to buy my plane ticket now.
Yeah, it's gonna be a party. Jill, what is your favorite?
I think part of what has been challenging as a queer person for me and probably many other people is that like things exist below this like unspoken line of like, is that person queer? Is that person gay? I'm going through life sort of being pretty self, but with Pride, it's like all there, all out there. I love that things are just visible in a way that doesn't really like sustain after Pride Month. Like people don't go around all the time in like all kinds of rainbow attire, but if they did, but I think that's sort of like physical manifestation of like queerness, gayness. Like it doesn't disappear when you take off the pride clothing, because that feeling I think is superior to them. So that's what I'm excited about. Is just seeing more openness continue afterwards. That's what I like about it.
Yeah. You know, I have a confession to make. I have not yet gone to Pride here in New York, which I'm like very sad about. Last year I didn't get to go. And then this year I have to help. My fiance has been producing a show, Single Rider the Musical, closing today. Get your tickets before the matinee today. And we have to strike the set tonight. And today, so I have to like pick up a U-Haul and do all those things, so I don't get to go again. But yo, for real, if next year is World Pride in New York, I'm absolutely going, because I feel like that's gonna be a blast.
I've actually never been to a big city Pride either, because I've always been in Missouri. Even after I moved, I would come back for my summer job here, and it's always in June. I've only been to Springfield Pride.
Which very happy that there is a Springfield Pride. They're doing.
Agreed.
So fun fact for you viewers at home, Kyle, Jill, and I all went to the same university, Missouri State University, Go Bears. And so like we each saw our little town of Springfield, Missouri at different phases in life, which is super fun. Kyle, what was gay life like in Springfield, Missouri when you were there?
Well, it was a huge step up from Jonesboro, Arkansas, where I grew up. I can tell you that.
Yeah.
I felt like it was a very welcoming community, because there were a lot of out gay people, older out gay people. Some of our professors, of course. There was a gay bar, and everybody went to that gay bar. All kinds of queer people went to that gay bar, so it was very inclusive. Not like, you know, a New York gay bar where it's like, I don't know, like a bear bar or like a twink bar or something. Like everybody went to this bar. Actually, gay and straight people did too. I mean, it was a really inclusive thing. So,
Kyle, was that Martha's Vineyard?
Yeah, Martha's Vineyard.
Yep, Martha's was still bumping when we were there.
Been to Martha's. Yeah.
Love Martha's. What was that?
Is it gone now?
No, it's still there.
No, it's still bumping.
It's rocking and rolling. Martha's Vineyard, we love you.
Martha's will never die. Yeah.
It will never die. So Jessica Ryan is commenting on our Facebook video, and she said that she went to Pride in Springfield yesterday. She's there for a show, and she saw Chris Weaver, also known as Nidra Bell, performing there. And she said there were people of every class, race, social status, age, and sexuality. It was almost overwhelming to see in a city we generally regard as not very open to something like Pride, which is like super exciting and kind of touches back on the things that we were talking about of like where we have moved, like come from these people, like the gentleman who went on The Real World to talk about being gay and like raise awareness. Like I guarantee that he never thought, but it was a very different world for him at that time to think that a small town in Missouri could have a gay bar that gets like a nationally renowned drag queen to come perform at it. Like that's super exciting. So guys, before we log off, I want to give like an opportunity for us to talk about like things that we really care about. Is there one cause or one group that is like fighting the good fight that you love, that you want to like take a minute to talk about, you know, anything facing the community that you specifically care about? Again, I like to ask real broad questions here at the breakdown.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I can say something. I have a foundation actually called Forming Families, And the reason I started it is because my husband and I went through the process of IVF, having our own biological children. And we wanted to do the first part first and do the second part later. But it's such an expensive process. I mean, it really costs a fortune. And so I wanted to have some kind of foundation that could help other gay people that wanted to have their own biological children, because in my opinion, these are the people that need to be having kids, are the people that really want them and can raise them to be kind and accepting and loving people in this world. And so we have this foundation, and we make small grants just to help people throughout their journey. And we obviously don't pay for the entire thing, but we're there helping people, because I do feel like it's kind of an equal rights thing. I mean, the fact that some teenage guy and his girlfriend can like have a baby, and then that baby is part of our society. I think it's kind of crazy that that two people that love each other very intensely and are very solid that would like to have a family, it's so difficult. So and I don't believe that you should have to be uber rich to have that. You know, I think that it should be more accessible, and so that's what we're trying to do.
Yeah. Did you tell me the name of your foundation one more time?
formingfamiliesfoundation.org.
Guys, go check it out. That sounds so wonderful. So one of my favorite things is seeing couples who like, when you look at them, you can kind of tell the difficulties that they've been through in life. Like seeing older interracial couples just make me really fuzzy, because I'm like, you like did it. And yesterday on the train, I saw two dads with two sons, and they were just adorable. And I was like, you've gone through it, I know, and I just love that you're a happy little family. Yeah. Jill, what about you?
I think I'm gonna like say something now and then later remember like a million things. So this is not like an all expansive, I guess, cause list, but I am thinking about my community in LA a lot. And so California is about to perhaps be on the brink of like a really important civil rights issue for intersex individuals. They could be one of the first states to pass a law that would ban surgeries that are non-consensual on people who are born intersex. So that's a really important step in our community, and hopefully other states would be able to follow suit, and those kinds of like, you know, violations of the body would no longer be subjected on those individuals. So and I think there's an organization called Interact, and you can find them. And they do a lot of really great advocacy for that. And
That's
also
wonderful.
Equality California. Yeah.
So, I mean, I think overall, I want to take a second to say, hey, it's Pride Month. Maybe you should check out one of these charities or foundations that were just mentioned, and maybe make a little donation. Do it for yourself, or for the good of the world, or for your cousin who is queer, or for whoever it is, just for the good of everyone. Because there are people out here who are doing really great, wonderful things, and you should go out and help them all. So one last thing before we leave. So I am, as mentioned, not a part of the community, but I want to always try my hardest to be an ally and to help and push the cause forward and things. What is one thing that you think allies that right now in our current climate that you need from LGBTQ allies?
I don't know. That's a very good question.
Yeah.
I think the simple answer for me would still just be acceptance. I really kind of think that's it. I think it's an understanding as well. Just kind of understanding, always being empathetic, I guess, empathy. And that goes for not just LGBT people, Q people. It goes for, I think, everybody in the world, really. I don't think that our wants are any different than anyone else's on this planet. You just want to live a happy and healthy life. And the second that anybody, and myself included, can be empathetic toward someone and the struggles that they've had in their life, then you can change the world. I believe that to be true.
Yeah. Jill, do you have anything?
Yeah, I would say don't be afraid to use your privilege to be loud when it's maybe not advantageous for actual queer people to be loud. Or that maybe someone's struggling with asserting themselves, or, like, if you know that your friends' pronouns are getting used incorrectly, like, step in and correct them.
Yeah.
If that's appropriate. Or, like, talk to somebody and be like, hey, this person, so that they don't have to kind of put themselves in a weird place. Or, like, ask your workplace, hey, what are the, like, protections you have for LGBTQ couples? Because it can sort of be a risk when you are the person who needs those benefits or protections, and you're putting yourself, your neck on a line to sort of secure them. But if a person who doesn't really have skin in the game and, like, this is the thing you should have, that can be really helpful for the community as a whole.
Yeah, it reminds me to an extent of that, like, Martin Luther King Jr. quote about the white moderate, about people who are more worried about not actual peace. I looked it up. What's the term he uses? Because I think it's really fascinating. Who prefer a negative peace, which is the absence of tension, to a positive peace, which is the presence of justice. And that, if you're just trying to keep everyone happy and everyone with a lack of tension, that's not the same as trying to make it so that everyone can live just happy lives, which I think is so true. Guys, thanks for coming on the show this morning with me. I know it is a Sunday morning and that you guys are probably relaxing and chilling and all cool out by the shooting b-ball and all that thing. That didn't come out. Sometimes I think I'm gonna be really funny, and then I get so excited about it that I just don't stick the landing. I'm just so excited that I'm flipping in the air that I just fall. But guys, thanks for coming on and talking and opening up and being honest with us. We appreciate you so much, and I'm just so happy that you could be on the show with me.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Awesome. Yeah. Bye, guys. I'll talk to you later. Bye, audience.
Bye.
Guys, thanks for watching. It just means so darn much to me. Hey, we want your opinions. What do you want us to talk about? Comment on the video and tell us what topics you want us to cover. Also, we'll see you here same time next week. See you then.